Movement 6, The Lord is my shepherd, is the second of the two psalms. And in a way it forms a counterpole to Out of the Deep, the dark psalm, which is movement 2. That's in C minor, this is in C major. Movement 2 with the cello has a rich, dark instrument. And movement 6, The Lord is my shepherd, has the oboe, which is lighter and more pastoral in flavour. Oboes have always been associated with shepherds. I suppose it's almost a job qualification, isn't it? That if you want to be a shepherd, you have to be able to play the oboe. And I suppose, don't fight the obvious. It seemed to me the instrument that just belonged with these words. I actually wrote this movement before the rest of the Requiem. It was written as a separate anthem in 1976 for Mel Olson, my wonderful host and patron in the States. Now, he wanted an anthem for his church choir, and I remember I wrote it locked in his choir room on the Monday and Tuesday of the week of my visit. The choir met on Wednesday, so it was important to have it done by then. And I somehow felt I needed an oboe, and there it was, they found one, a fine player. And this movement, I don't know why, but having written it as a separate anthem, I felt in a sense it belonged somewhere else, that on its own it didn't seem quite complete. And I think almost from the first, when I decided to write this Requiem, The Lord is my shepherd seemed to belong as part of it. And I composed backwards because, in fact, if you look, this is really for students of composition, if you look at the outline of the I am the resurrection and the life from the movement before, it's the same pattern. That to just transpose it for a moment, here's I am the resurrection. And then when it comes in The Lord is my shepherd, the Lord is my shepherd, therefore can I lack nothing. So we've had a prefiguring of that theme. So when it actually does appear, we feel we know it already. And well, it's a straightforward pastoral setting. One of the things I always say to choirs performing it is don't sentimentalize it, because the voice of the psalmist is almost that of like a 10-year-old shepherd boy who's been left on this lonely hillside to spend hours just watching the sheep, quite boring really. And he suddenly has this amazing thought that there's somebody watching over him. And that's perhaps why it's one of the most lovely of the Psalms, because it's all about trust and it's all about returning to the simplicity that a child might feel. And so sing The Lord is my shepherd really just straightforwardly and with an almost boy soprano-like tone. I think the opening is something that just shouldn't be sentimentalized or spiritualized in the wrong kind of way. There is spirituality in the text, and it comes out best, I think it works best if you don't overdo it. Then the tenors and basses, he shall convert my soul, bring me forth in the paths of righteousness. And when we get to Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I return to the kind of block chords that we've had in I am the resurrection and the life in that section, or perhaps more the man that is born of a woman. And it rather recalls that. Again, I was composing backwards because this came first. And it ends really just in a mood of pastoral gentleness. This is almost, one might say, an interlude, this movement, before we return to the official text of the Requiem Mass for the final movement.